Okay, here we have tables for the basic functions. Of course, this board comes from the more detailed, longer explanation that you have. I assume you can do arithmetic, and that's not necessarily the case for most people coming into a pre-calculus course. So if you don't understand how these functions are evaluated, you need to go to the more detailed explanation. And most students are going to need to do that. But if you understand quickly, you don't need to worry about that. So I'm going to go through this quickly. Here's the x squared function. This is the table for the basic squaring function. We've already seen it. There's a little more detail here. Y is negative 2 squared equal to 4 because negative 2 times negative 2 equals plus 4. Okay, that's a detail that not everybody is going to grasp immediately. A lot of people want to call that negative 4 because of the negatives or something. Okay, here we have the table for the basic exponential function. And, 2 to the x. Okay, if x is negative 2, that means we've got to do 2 to the negative 2. If you know what a negative exponent is, which most people coming into pre-calculus don't, but many people recognize it after they're told, but a lot of people don't, so you got to get that straight, because we can't mess around and miss this. Okay, anyhow, 2 to the negative 2 is 1 over 2 squared. Okay, negative exponent, you do the reciprocal, and so forth. And I'm not going to explain that. That's pre-algebra. But we have methods that can work you through the pre-algebra. Okay, so we have 2 to the negative 2, 1 over 2 squared, 1/4. And then 2 to the negative 1 would be 1 over 2. 2 to the negative 1/2. Now here's where we have a little bit of a problem, because people want to punch it into their calculator, but calculators are forbidden in the first half of this course. So you can't do that. And even if you did, it wouldn't help, because all the calculator is going to do is give you 10 or 12 significant figures. 2 to the negative 1/2 is an irrational number. It never ends. So you can't write it out exactly. You can't calculate it. It cannot be calculated. It can be calculated as far as you want to go, but you're never done. So it cannot be calculated, and remember, in the definition we said if it can't be calculated, we're not going to include it. So, can't be calculated, so we kind of cross it out. Okay? I'll just put a little purple line through it. It's not there anymore. This is not part of the basic function. Okay, 2 to the 0, it's not 0. 2 to the 0 is 1, and if you don't understand that, and if you didn't understand that before you even walked into the class and didn't know that as well as you know the back of your hand, you need to review laws of exponents and so forth. Okay, 2 to the 0 is 1. Any number to the 0 is 1. I talk a lot about that in the more detailed videos. So 1/2, again, 2 to the 1/2, you can't calculate it. Okay, 2 to the 1 is 2, 2 to the second power is clearly 4. So there's our table for the basic exponential function. Okay? Basic reciprocal function. And we run into a little glitch here. There's one number in this list at which you cannot evaluate the function, and that's 0. You can't count to 1 by 0, so you can't divide 1 by 0. There's no number which, when multiplied by 0, gives you 1. For all those reasons that are detailed in the more extensive explanation, division by 0 is undefined, always. You can never divide by 0. Okay. And you need to understand the reasons, or you kind of forget that it's so. Okay. Okay. Now, if x equals negative 2, 1 over x is 1 over negative 2, and that's the same as negative 1/2. So you get negative 1/2. For negative 1, you get negative 1. 1 divided by 1/2 is 1 times negative 2 over 1, which is negative 2. And if you don't know how to divide fractions, you need to make sure you know how to add and divide fractions. Okay, and then 1/2 gives us 2, 1 gives us 1, 2 gives us 1/2. Again, if you don't totally understand this, totally understand it, or you didn't need me to explain it, you need to look at the more detailed videos. Okay, and you probably need, many students in a pre-calculus class need mentoring on these very basic arithmetic and pre-algebra ideas, because they get lost when you, well, they just get lost. Okay, basic cubing function. Well, -2 cubed is -8, -1 cubed is -1, -1/2 cubed is -1/8, 0 cubed is 0, etc. There's your table, nothing to it. And all the numbers work. Okay? And your basic reciprocal square function. Yeah, well, you do 1 over x squared. When x is -2, you square -2, you get 4, so you get 1/4. And then if you square -1/2, you get 1/4, and 1 over that is 4 over 1. Division by 0 is again undefined, so that 0 is excluded from the domain of the function. So we have these exclusions. Okay? We exclude 0 from the domain of these two functions because division by 0 is undefined. We exclude -1/2 from the domain of these functions, not because there isn't a value. I mean, if x is 0, this function has no value at 0. It's undefined. It's just not there. That number can't be in the domain. This number is in the domain of the 2 to the x function. It's just not in the domain of the basic 2 to the x function, because for the basic 2 to the x function, the only values we use are ones you understand and the ones you can calculate. Now, you do understand and can calculate this, and if you don't totally understand it, you need to review it, and you will, because you'll be required to. Okay, so there we have tables of the basic functions. So it's a fairly simple matter to go ahead and graph them. So we'll look at the graphs in a minute.